Alright, welcome back to Fully Semi-Automotive. I'm Alex, and tonight I'm here in the shop. We're going to be going over our 1975 Chevrolet Corvette. This is going to be the first real kind of in-depth look I get at this Corvette, because I kind of just went over the basics with it when I bought it a couple months back. And engine runs. It drove into the trailer under its own power, so I know the transmission and clutch is at least mostly there. But we're going to start digging into this and really getting the full scoop on what's going on with it tonight. And figure I'll start off just by telling you the story of how I ended up with this. So C3 Corvette's been a big dream of mine for a while. It's one of my favorite cars, has been since I was a kid. I always thought these were one of the best looking Corvettes out there. And it was kind of, as a kid, that car, that dream car that doesn't seem attainable as a kid, right? You don't think about how much the car is actually going to be worth when you're grown up and have a job. You just think about, man, that's a cool looking car, and I'm probably never going to be able to afford one of those, but it's really cool. And so this one popped up on Facebook Marketplace. I was about 20 minutes from the shop, so I went to go take a look at it. Big thing you're going to notice right away, it's missing the headlights. I do know that we have those, they're in the car, so we'll get to those in a minute. But like I said, engine's all there, transmission's there, it started right up, sat and idled in the parking lot for probably about 20 minutes, and seemed to be running great. So went ahead and bought it, got a killer deal on it. And what I know about it, just from looking at it when I bought it, is we've got a 350 small block under the hood, we've got a 4-speed gearbox in the tunnel, we've got some semi-decent tires all the way around, and we do have the original Corvette rallies all the way around, which was really exciting to see. And what I do know is, from checking the VIN, this was an L48 car, but you're going to see some stuff under the hood that makes me kind of wonder if that's still the original motor, and we'll get to that in a moment. Now, I haven't run the numbers on it, so we'll have to find that out. But we do have some interesting stuff going on with this. Like we mentioned in our one shot, if you saw that, we have no interior on this car. We're starting to piece that together bit by bit as we find them. But yeah, let's just jump right into it and see what we find. All right, so I figure let's just start out. We'll walk around the car. I'll show you some of the stuff that you can see without popping the hood. We'll just kind of take a little tour around, see what we see, and talk about some of the unique features of this car. So like I said, 1975 Chevrolet Corvette, an L48 car by the VIN, but we do have some interesting little modifications here and there. So starting off at the front, obviously, big thing, we're missing the headlights entirely as far as what's in the car. You can see we've still got the vacuum canisters back in there, and we've got some of the spring assembly here. We're missing all the springs on this side, but the assembly's still there, so we gotta kind of piece that back together. But moving up the fender, we notice these. These are not factory vents, and they're actually not vented yet. We may end up opening those up and actually making those functional vents. But as a 75 car, this was the last year of what they called the Astro ventilation. And so you can see that with these grills on the hood. We've got some grills back here on the deck lid. And this car was a factory AC car, as we can see by dropping into the interior there. We have factory AC controls. The AC compressor has been pulled out of this. We'll get to that when we get into the engine bay. But being a factory AC car meant that while this was the last year of Astro ventilation on Corvettes, this one actually was not equipped with it. But basically that was the first iteration of having cold air venting that was forced through the ducting by the car moving forward. So they had little intakes down here under, let's see if I flip that around, if you can see that. There's some little vents under the hood where cold air would basically wrap over the front of the hood, or I guess atmospheric air would wrap over the front of the hood, go down into those vents, it get ducted down and around and up into the passenger compartment. So, and then where those vents are on the deck lid, there were actually vacuum actuated little dampers back here that would open and let that air out of the cabin if you had the T-tops on. So it didn't just build up high pressure inside the cabin, it would actually flowed all the way through the cabin and out the back of the car. And like I said, we've got the original rally wheels all the way around. I don't know if you can really see that on the front from here, but we do have them on all four corners. And moving around the back, you'll notice that this is not the original rear bumper. It is a later model. It's like I want to say an 80 to 82. I'm not entirely sure which years had this little kind of ducktail spoiler on them. But they definitely didn't have that in 75. In 75, they would have come down at an angle here, and there would have just kind of sloped off the back of the car. So this is definitely a later model rear bumper that's been added. We are missing the Corvette badges, which is a little unfortunate. And we've got a Corvette gas cap lid here that's in the wrong color, and it's also not actually screwed down yet. I do have the screw kit to bolt that back down, but we gotta figure out what's going on with the paint and what we're gonna do with that before I really feel like mounting that down permanently. But this is actually the original color of the car, this kind of brown metallic. I don't know if you can really see a lot of the flake in that, but yeah, the trim code for the car originally is a saddle. It's a medium saddle metallic. So the car's been repainted at least once. Don't know how many times, but at least once. And as far as previous ownership, I think it's had 3 owners before me. The guy that I bought it from bought it as a parts car. So he was actually going to strip a bunch of the parts off this and use them on a restoration project of his. But it ran so nice that he felt bad pulling parts off of it, is at least what he told me. So, but he said, you know, it's mostly there. It just needs the interior and a couple little things here and there. So, and obviously a little bit of paint work, but the body's fairly straight overall. So he said he felt bad parting it out basically and stripping it. So, felt that he should probably just sell it to someone who's willing to put it all back together. So that happened to be me. But moving on to the interior here, you can see on this driver's side glass, it's got the Astro ventilation badge here. And I don't know that that glass is original to the car. Again, with this one being a factory AC car, the Astro ventilation is correct for being a 75, but with it being factory AC, I don't know that they still said that, since it wasn't actually equipped with full Astro vents. So, not sure what's going on with that. We can see here that our door handles have one of the notorious problems that they don't spring all the way back up and sit flush. So, got to figure that one out. But door latches do work. We're missing, like I said, the full interior, and you can kind of see more of that medium saddle metallic on the inside of the doors here. So they did respray part of the door, but not all of it. And we're missing the locking knob here and maybe some of the actuator. We do have the window regulator, and this one did have electric windows, not hand crank, which is kind of unfortunate. I think the hand crank windows would have been cool, but it is what it is. We do have the full interior door handle. I did buy new ones of these because we are missing one on that side. And I have bought a handful of parts that we were able to figure out it needed pretty early on, but I haven't really done a deep dive into the car yet, so you're seeing a lot of this stuff as I'm seeing it for the first time. So we've got some form of bubble packaging used as insulation. I don't know if that's normal or factory, but it seems a little strange. And we do have the T-tops. They're sitting over here. They're going to need a fair bit of work. The headliners are shot, and most of the seals are shot. So there's a spare pack of bus fuses. I'm sure those are going to come in handy. It does have an aftermarket Grant steering wheel, so not the original wheel, but this is the telescoping, or not telescoping wheel, the adjustable steering column that does not want to
rotate, but yeah. So this is one of the weird steering columns from kind of the middle period where they had added the tilt feature, but they hadn't done the telescoping column yet. So a little bit of adjustment, but not a ton. One of the things that I think is neat about these cars is that the headlight bright switch is actually way up here on the floorboards. So it's a foot activated high beam switch. So you'd turn your headlights on up here and then turn your high beams on down there. Now the odometer does say that it's got about 44,000 miles on it, 43.6. No idea if that's accurate or if it's rolled over once. So could be 43,000, could be 143,000. I am willing to bet, given the state of this car, it's probably 143. Yeah, so when I bought the car, I have moved a few things around in here. That was the seat. This little piece of 1x6. But they did at least go for pressure treated, so it is rated for ground contact. But you can see we're missing most of the center console's gone. We do have a radio bezel, no radio. All of the gauges are still there. Not sure if they're working, but they're there. We got tach and speedometer. Not sure if there's anything interesting or new about the 75 speedometer. I want to say that the 74s were the first to have kilometers on the inner ring. But don't quote me on that. I think it is, but I'm not 100% certain. So we do have what appears to be an original mirror. We've got sun visors that are very much stuck and don't want to move. We've got the original tan seat belts that are bolted in, and there's a black seat belt over there and another tan seat belt. So we might have spare seat belts. I did order new seat belts. Was one of the first things I did. I ran the VIN, figured out what year the car was, and then I ordered brand new, I believe single retractor seat belts. It's been a couple months since I bought those, so was not going to take a chance on some old seat belts that had been sitting out in the elements for a while. Figured I'd just go ahead and buy new ones right away. So did that. I know from trying to get the car loaded into the trailer that the window switches are not currently functioning. Not sure where in the line that happened. They claim before they sold it to me that the window switches were working and they were able to roll the windows up and down. But when we were trying to get in the trailer, you couldn't quite get the door completely open to get out of the car once it was pulled into the trailer. So trying to Dukes of Hazzard their way out of the car by rolling the window down and crawling out, but couldn't quite get that to work. So before we dive into the engine bay, I'm gonna come around to the passenger side and we'll go through some of these parts that are sitting over here. So like I said, we do have some headlight components. We've got, this would be the driver's side headlights, I believe. And we do have the whole, it looks like the whole aluminum shell. This one's got the stop arm, and the fiberglass bezel around it is pretty chewed up in some spots. So that's gonna have to be replaced. And this one is blue. Not sure where that came from. Probably pulled that out of a junkyard, not sure. And then this one is the passenger side, I believe, and this one is red. So two mismatched headlights, and this one is missing the fiberglass and it's missing the stop arm, so I'll have to get a new stop arm and some headlight rebuild components. because we're gonna need probably new bushings and new springs on all of that. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and right away, I think I'm gonna swap out the actuators. We'll go from vacuum to electric and just not bother with extra vacuum leaks hiding somewhere. So this looks like it was an interior door handle with the locking actuator right there. That looks like that piece. So that may be why our door handle is missing on this side if they replaced that. I'm not sure if this is a passenger or a driver's side one, but we got a spare, so figure that out later. And as you can see, at some point the car was probably sitting under some pine trees. Lots of pine trees here in North Alabama, so I would not be surprised if it was parked under some trees for a long time. And again, this side, missing the door panel entirely. We do have, I'm guessing this is the driver's side kick plate that goes along the door rail there. So, might have a little bit of completage for that side. And we do have 2 black seat belts over here. And the new ones I ordered are black. I decided to go with that. For the plan I had for the interior, I think black is just gonna look better. So, and these actually look to be in semi-decent condition. It's starting to fray there, but that's on a seam, so I wonder if that's just the thread. But those housings are pretty rusted. Yeah, I'm glad I ordered new seat belts. I just don't want to trust those. Definitely don't want to trust the ones that are bolted in here, because yeah, I mean, at this point, they're almost 50 years old. Probably are about 50 years old, actually, with manufacturing time. So, yeah, we're probably just going to throw those away and not look back. And we've got some paneling here. Not sure where that piece is supposed to go. That might be like a tunnel cover portion, but lots of little chunks paneling. That looks like that came from under the steering column. It's got some numbering on the inside. Not sure if that's part numbers or die number or something. I'll have to figure that out. Another piece. This one's metal. Might have come out of the door, maybe? I'm not sure. That feels like that'd be... Oh, yep, I bet that's where that goes. Right there. Yep. Covers that window regulator. So, we've got the one for the passenger side, but I'm not seeing one for the driver's side, so I might have to figure one of them out. Got... This looks like probably some headliner. It's supposed to go up here where the T-tops are, would be my guess. But that's in pretty rough shape too. So it's pretty bent up and vinyl's starting to tear. So that's probably no good either. Got a little metal bracket here, not sure what that's from. Got more peeling insulation, it looks like. That might be factory insulation. And this is an old bill, it looks like. Monthly statement. Yep, monthly statement for one of the previous owners. So, Philip Duff, if you're out there and you see this and you used to have an account with Bell South, and I actually don't know where that is. That's an Alabama thing, or if this is somebody who lived somewhere else. But if you see this, I think I've got your Corvette. It's an old rubber line that's pretty stiff. Probably no good. Little gaskets. There's a water pump gasket, or water neck gasket. Sorry. It's an old cap, screw cap of some kind. Lots of little just chunks. This plate is starting to rust out across the bottom, so probably have to do something about that. And we've got one of the original grills that goes in the front bumper. Now, I didn't even know I had this. I was fully expecting to have to either buy new ones of these or make something else. I actually kind of have a plan for something else I want to do instead of the original grills. So we'll probably just use that to take some measurements. We got an old pack of, these look like they were probably interior lights, but that's empty, so that's trash. This is some broken paneling that I'm sure used to be a kick panel, probably driver's side. So again, might use that to take some measurements, but otherwise that's probably trash. And got a relay there and a dome light. And got some more bracketry that's not really identifiable by my knowledge. No idea what that came off of or where that goes. So that's fun. This is what's left of the shift boot. Gonna need a new one of those. A mirror of that last bracket we pulled out. Another random bracket, not sure where that one goes either. Lots of random little bits of bracket in here. That's a great find. Carburetor choke and throttle body cleaner, so might come in handy later. Probably just gonna throw that out. Got some bolts, screws, old penny it looks like, light bulbs. Yeah, lots of old kind of trash insulation. It's a label for something. Yeah. Lots of this just kind of looks like trash. So, peel this insulation back. Yeah. I'm thinking most of that's just trash. Now, an upside of not having an interior on this car is that I was able to reach into the, well, you can see the bird cage on that side from here. You can see it on this side from here. And the bird cage itself is actually in pretty good shape. So, feel pretty good about that. We do have these little latches up here. I'm not sure what those are for. Wonder if you can't fold that rear window down. I've never actually crawled around in one of these cars, so I don't know all the features of them. But that does feel like that just kind of pops like that. And that kind of feels like that folds down. We're learning new things as we go. And you'll see on this side, the door is not lined up quite right when it closes. It closes a little too far. So, not sure if that's just because it doesn't have the door panel in it, or I think the hinge might not be aligned because that panel gap's pretty inconsistent. So, I wonder if this door didn't get left open and someone leaned on it and bent the hinge a little bit. So I'll have to fix that. And this door handle's a little better than the other side, but it's still drooping a little bit there, so we'll have to fix that too. But the chrome up and around the windshield is still in pretty good shape. Gotta do something about this back edge here. I'm not sure if there's supposed to be chrome running along here, or if that's specifically not supposed to have chrome, if that's for sealing the T-tops or something. But we'll figure that out. But for right now, I want to figure out if that window folds, because that'd be kind of neat. And I almost wonder if that doesn't pop completely out of there. So if it does, I'm gonna set the camera up, so hopefully you guys can see what happens. But I want to have two hands on this glass in case that does just kind of fall out of there. So it does. All right, it does actually just come out. So that's kind of awesome. I didn't know it did that. So we are in true old Corvette fashion. We are missing, I think, a screw. Yeah, just a little Phillips head screw that holds this frame together. But that window does actually just pop right out of there. That's really cool. I like that a lot. That is a neat feature that I did not know about. Awesome. So I am just gonna set the glass back here until I can get a screw to hold that frame together and get that cleaned up. But I suppose since we're back here, I'll move all this stuff back out of the way. We'll move these T-tops. I am thinking about getting the glass T-tops. They're like the moonroof ones. These ones have been painted white. They do match the rest of the car. Not sure if they were original, because that kind of looks like red paint on there. But we'll see what happens with those. We do have a fairly new battery in here. This was November 23. So, pretty new battery with the go handle. We've got the original tops for all these compartments, but the hinges are completely gone. So I'm pretty sure this car was parked mostly outside and just kind of left to rot in the elements. So kind of a sad situation for it. I always thought these were really beautiful cars. So a little disappointing that one was treated this poorly. I'm sure other ones have been treated worse, but hopefully we can get this thing saved. So got a couple spare door handles in here. These ones actually seem like they might be working. So might swap those out. Chrome actually seems to be in pretty good shape. And did we get two of the same ones? It does kind of look like that's two of the same ones. Looks like passenger side for both of those. So that's odd and a little unfortunate, but at least I only got to buy one new one. So, alright, so now that we've kind of gone through the whole interior, let's get to the stuff that everybody actually wants to see, and that is what's under the hood. So, first thing you're going to notice, probably, is that that is not the original carburetor, and those are some chrome valve covers. So somebody has gone through this car and they did do some modification to it, and we can see if we look down here, we've got some tubular exhaust manifolds. Those are not the original cast ones. Like I said, we've got chrome valve covers with this breather and these T-handle valve cover bolts. We've got a Holley carburetor on there with a very interesting throttle return spring setup. They've got that hooked to a hose clamp for the upper rad hose, which is pretty great, and zip tied the throttle cable on there. Now what really confuses me, why would you not hook the throttle spring from your throttle cable bracket over to your throttle lever like you're supposed to? Because that's why okay, well, I guess that's just what they did. That looks like it may be an aftermarket HEI ignition. These look like pretty new spark plug wires. The brake master cylinder, the cylinder looks pretty old. The cap looks fairly new, which is odd. Not sure why you'd replace the cap without replacing the whole cylinder. And this one really wants to fight me. Oh, yeah. Yep, that's, yeah, gonna have to replace that. There's a ton of rust down in there, and I don't know if you can tell, but one of these things is not like the other. The rear reservoir has fluid, and the front one does not. So we're just gonna put that back. Unfortunately, that's kind of the reverse of what you want. You want all front brakes and no rear brakes if you're gonna have one or the other, because if you've got only rear brakes, you can't do burnouts. But looks like we got an Edelbrock Performer on the intake manifold. So somebody went through this and bothered to put some decent modifications on this motor, because they've done headers, they've done at least a different carb. It's definitely not the original carb, and they've put a manifold on it. So I wonder if they did the heads. Hard to tell from here. So, and like I said, I've not run any of the numbers off the block or the heads to try and figure out what this is that's in here. Running the VIN tells me that it's a 75 with a 350, but an L48 350, so it would be the 2-bolt main, not the 4-bolt main, and would have had a measly 185 horsepower when it rolled off the factory line. But with some headers and a carb and an intake, and there you can see that's kind of gummed up. This obviously something's been living in here, and it's been sitting at some point, probably with the hood open, because there's, well, I suppose maybe mice drug that in there. I don't know. We're missing some T-bolts on this side. That looks like grade 8s. Swap those out for some reason or another. And you can see there is bracketry here for the AC compressor to go to that fan pulley. And there's the AC lines. We've got a red and a blue right there. So hypothetically, we've got all the necessary hardware to have AC, but we're just missing the compressor. And I was told when I bought the car that the brakes had been replaced fairly recently, and I think that was just a straight up lie. But I kind of knew that going into this, because I don't have a lot of good lighting down there. Let's see if I can get a light on that. But those calipers are very rusted. The pins look to be in decent shape. They're brass, or at least still brass colored. I assume it's a steel pin that's just been coated to look brass, but so, I mean, they look fairly new. Maybe someone did a pad slap on this, but those rotors look kind of old. Caliper definitely looks old. And the fact that our master cylinder is missing half the juice is not a great sign for this brake rebuild. Or at least that the brakes were rebuilt. That's not great. But if you can kind of see down here, the frame's in pretty good shape. It's got a little surface rust, but nothing structural. So that's in decent shape. We've got some wiring up here that's been chewed on. So I assume that was probably for the AC. Something up here. And some of this almost looks like it may be custom. Looks like that's going to the blower motor back there. And these were those vents I was talking about, where the Astro vents would have gone. It's kind of through this mesh here and down around the side of the car. But we are missing the air cleaner. It didn't come with one. But luckily, your local O'Reilly's is a wealth of new parts. And we actually went over there to get some parts for a different vehicle we were just doing some routine maintenance on. And we found a Spectre, I guess extra flow air cleaner. These are 14x3, and this one is in red. They've got 4 different colors on them there, but this one is in fact red. And it was sitting on their clearance shelf, so got that. Normally those are like 150 bucks depending on where you pick them up. You can see right there it's in red, but they had that marked down clearance open box with all the parts for about 45, I think was all they wanted. And I've picked up a couple other parts. We got some oil filters, we got a little thermostat, carburetor rebuild kit. These are some intake and valve cover gaskets. I got a new rad gasket, or not rad gasket, water neck gasket, that's what it is. And got oiled to do an oil change. So, and then like I said, I've got some seat belts down here. They're brand new seat belts. So got some good parts for it. But with that, I think that about wraps up our overview of the Corvette. So we'll be back in a little bit and gonna try to start getting this thing running. So I want to thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.